No drinks.
Things to help.
Drinks.
We didn't have it in our family, and then we adopted it.
Oh, you adopted it, okay.
Yep.
So you should look
Nobody ever really knows what they're getting into. You kind of have, a little bit of a sense, but the reality always takes you by surprise.
Okay.
But he's not doing it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Laura.
Laura,
What's
Grace,
her name?
Mary,
It is a name. Right, it's a female.
Ellen.
I mean, how many restaurants are named with a female name? Okay, sorry.
So I just do chair. Roll this call.
Patients and cardiology, other RPTM. That's what Mark is in.
Nice haircuts. Thank you.
Got that Dodgers jacket.
Gotta show
Phillies,
pride
baby.
when they're
Go Phillies.
sucks. Testing.
But welcome to our third installment, third, whatever it is, installment of Football Friday. Glad that you're here. If you're looking for my Knies 100 sign-up sheet, I'm going to be sitting down at the end there. So sign up with me and sign out as you go out. We've got a great speaker today, Char Morett Curtiss, to talk about her experiences in field hockey at Penn State, at the Olympics, whatever Mike Foreman's going to ask her here, and her new women's sports initiative at Penn State. Some exciting material. So thanks, as always, to the All Sports Museum and Lou Lazaro, one of our co-sponsors, to the Center for the Study of Sports and Society, Steve Ross, our co-director, and as always to Mike Foreman, who's not behind the scenes today, he's up front, and the Bellisario College of Communication.
Thanks, Mark. And cameraman Steve Sampson. My job today is to talk as little as possible and elicit great stories from Char. We're going to talk about the women's athletic initiative. There's a new name for the field hockey field at the new stadium coming up. We'll meander with Title IX, History of Women's Sports at Penn State, talk about some of your mentors here at Penn State, and maybe finish up talking a little.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, Mike.
The Women's Athletic Initiative, what is the genesis of that? You were retired for about 12 seconds when you talked to Pat Crash about it?
Pretty much, I was going to meet Pat about some things within the field hockey program, and I had a scheduled meeting and walked over to his office, and it's always great to see Pat. And I said, hey, before we get into what I came over here to discuss with you, something I need to tell you first. And he's like, what's that? I said, well, I've just decided to retire from coaching. And he said, no. I said, yes. He's like, no. I go, no. And he goes, okay, well, now you're going to come work for me. And I said, great, I know exactly what I want to do. And he said, what's that? I said, I want to start a women's athletics initiative. He's like, sounds great to me. You got it, go for it. And that's how it started.
How long was that at the back of your mind?
So about 3 years ago, I had a group of women come to my house actually, and talked to them about how can we start this women's athletics initiative with our alumni base that would help support our student athletes and do a little bit of fundraising, as well. So at the time, I was trying to fundraise for our stadium. I was coaching the field hockey team. I had Elizabeth King, Susan Robinson over the house, and we spoke about it. But we couldn't really get it off the ground. And then a year later, when Susan was in a position to come on board with the Mini Line Club, at that time, I just 6 months later went into retirement. So it had been probably about 3 years, and I'd seen it done in other schools: North Carolina, Louisville, UCLA, Oregon. And I'm like, we can do it better. Now I can do it in Penn State, and I know we can do it better.
Steve, are we okay with this?
Just turn that off and give her the handheld.
What's that?
Turn that off and give her the handheld.
Can you hear what I'm saying? Not really? Really? Okay.
Turn hers off and just give her the handheld. Nobody wants to hear you as long as they can hear her.
So we take this off. Just turn How's that?
Testing, there we go.
Okay. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Still seems like a little bad sound, but no, okay. Okay.
There you
All right.
go. You saw other schools doing it. What is it?
You know what, I saw them start some mentoring programs and some leadership career opportunities for their student athletes, but mostly their programs were really financially driven. And we actually Zoomed with a woman from North Carolina, and she actually was the lead director of their Rams Club. So the athletics department put it in her hands, and really what they did is they went out and fundraised from the top women within their donor base, and then they looked to raise funds for a stadium, for field hockey, different facilities that the other sports needed. Whereas for us, we're very event and program oriented. It's really not, our job is not to be the fundraisers. We definitely are all about women or anybody that wants to support this program financially, but it's really about creating the relationships between the leaders that we have here on campus and in our community with our student athletes. I really strongly feel that we have to get our student athletes integrated with each other. When I was in school in the 70s, we knew everybody. You knew the football players, the soccer players, the lacrosse players. And I think a lot of that was because, first of all, there was no iPhone, right? We had training tables, so everybody ran to training table right after practice. Everybody's practice was done at 6. So you met everybody, and that's where you found out what was going on socially that night or for the weekend. So we got to know each other, and I still have those relationships, with Doug Fleischer, with Rich Maudie, with Karen Schnellenbach, and I feel right now we're so siloed with our own teams that, and their plate's full, it's overflowing. So it's hard to create that organic time to meet other athletes.
Well, the teammates for life is a continuum from not just when they're on campus, but forever and ever. Can you talk about how you're trying to integrate all the great women athletes who are here, bring them back, make them re-energize them, make them part of the current community?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing, I thought about is we have to develop these relationships. We have to let the women on campus in our community know what we're all about, know what we're going to become, and we need their help to get this started. So we had an event back in May 24th, and we sent about 150 invites out, and we said, hey, come listen to Char Morett Curtiss talk about this women's athletic initiative that she's starting. We're having a social at the Letterman's Club in Beaver Stadium. We had 90 women show up, 90 women from the campus and the community. Sue Paterno was there, Marilyn Mazza, just every college was represented, and the women that have been successful within businesses downtown. So that's where we got started. And we just wanted to let them understand that we need their help, because this is Penn State University. And so we really just felt that they could be part of the mentor program that we were thinking of starting. So we started there, we sent it out, we did a meeting with our student athletes in July, let them know what we were gonna do. When we had that event in May, we had every female coach in attendance there. So they were able to mingle with the women that were a part of that social. And then we started putting together a calendar and saying, okay, first of all, we have to, what are we trying to accomplish? And what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to create those relationships with our current student athletes, with our alumni base. Hopefully it's going to be a big recruiting tool, because we know that Penn State has an amazing alumni base. They're everywhere and they're everything. And we've never tapped into it. The guys have done a great job with it. They've done a great job with it. And we just have not really put someone out there to get it started and then try to build it. So the enthusiasm, it's all upside to it. There's no downside to this initiative. When we had the event in May, we asked every attendee, send us 5 names of other women that you think would want to be involved. Hands down, send it to us. Send us an email, fill out the survey. How do you feel you could help our initiative? Mentoring, speaking, life coach, attend the games, just get to the games. And that's one thing we want to do, is drive the attendance to our home events
and also to our away events. But really, the ultimate goal is to create these relationships with our student athletes as they graduate. They're meeting alumni base. Our alums are getting connected with each other. So we're building this community of female Penn Staters that can help each other out, because there are a lot of accomplished women out there. You know, and I just had a glimpse of meeting them at your event in New York City. Every week, I meet somebody new who just inspires me. With Jen Burtis is coming in. She's a walk-on volleyball player. She was on American Ninja Warriors twice. She's like 5'2". She was motivated to try out by training a football player for the NFL Combine. And so she got involved with that. She then went to write a book, and now she does speaking engagements and training for mindfulness, health, body, I would say just, same thing, just fitness, that type of thing. She's coming in. Jamie Perot was a lacrosse player here. She runs a hedge fund in New York City. She's coming in November. She's going to be one of our keynote speakers. So there's so many women that really want to come back to campus and help out. Allie Krieger, she's going to come back, right up with our board here. She's going to be on campus so many times, get her in front of our student athletes. Tanisha Wright is here this weekend. So the list goes on and on of these accomplished women.
There was, if you could, when you were an athlete, the Jillian Rattrays and the Marty Adams of the world, Penn State was a leader in their community. And so you're trying, in some ways, this is back to the future.
Yes.
Can you share what that impact was on you and how that's, in a way, your motivation and foundation for this, what you experienced and the role of Penn State women's athletics as became a national leader?
It was huge. I mean, I always say, I can't imagine what my life would be like had I not come to Penn State, had I not had that opportunity. I played 3 sports in high school. I went to Pocono sports camp one summer. Jillian Rattray, my coach, was there. She talked to my high school, eventually my field hockey and lacrosse coach here. She talked to my high school coach, and she said, hey, Penn State's going to start giving scholarships to female athletes coming in the fall. And we think that Charlene could, be one of those recipients. And I was like, wow, I'm one of 7 in the family. I'm 6th in 9. No one in my family had ever gone to college. My dad worked at the Arco refinery. We didn't know how we would ever afford for me to go to college. And when this opportunity came, she sent that grant in aid, it meant the world to me. And I'm so grateful to have that opportunity. And when I arrived here, there was Dorothy Harris, there was Ellen Perry, there was Marty Adams, there was Della Durant. There were all these women, especially Jillian Rattray. She was feisty as could be. And they were all making sure that if the men got training table, the women got training table. If the men the football field was cut to 1 inch, Jillian wanted to make sure that the field hockey field was cut to 1 inch. So, and I never ever felt, and I think Joe had a lot to do with that. Joe just had perspective. First of all, academics and athletics were kept in perspective because of Joe Paterno. That's how this university, and I would say the integrity of our athletic department developed with Joe's leadership. And so the guys got 2 great t-shirts for practice, and so did we. It wasn't like they were getting anything more than we were. So you really felt you were a part of this community where there was the equality. And Title IX had been enacted, but there really weren't very, very many universities. They weren't really twisting anybody's arm to make sure that it was getting done. But the women on our campus at that time were extremely proactive and visionary, I would say.
Is part of your role with this sharing the history and tradition, and then hence the responsibility with today's coaches here at Penn State?
Oh, absolutely. Well, when Russ Rose and I would sit in our head coaches meetings, and we would talk about Joe, and nobody in the room had ever met Joe. There was one point where nobody had met Joe. And I would just say to them, the reason I'm here is because of Joe Paterno. I had older brothers, and, we would watch John Capoletti was a Delco boy. We would watch him, on Saturdays, and the no names on the jerseys, and Joe in his White Sox and black shoes. And, you didn't say that it was iconic at the time, but you knew there was something special about it. You really knew there was something special about it. And that's what we're trying to get our coaches today to understand. These were the leaders who, again, made sure that our student athletes were students. They came here to get a degree, and if they had, an opportunity to go pro, great. But obviously, that was really not, there are a few that could make it. Those percentage was small. And I think that's where, the men did a great job of going out, getting jobs, and bringing their letterman, connecting with their letterman. And I see this with our women's community, something that we want to do as well.
What's been the response? You had some things with current women athletes. What has been their response to the initiative and the interactions with alumni and business and community?
It's my email every day. I get an email from someone that I've never met. And they said, I heard about your initiative. How can I help? This is how I think I can help. I'm like, okay, great. So one of the things we wanted to do, Mary Beth Schmidt, who helps me, she's a graduate of the College of Communications here, helped Graham Spanier with his book tour. So within that role, she had made a lot of contacts with the local alumni chapters, Penn State alumni chapters. So we said, hey, let's tap into them, try to get them to Rutgers when our women's soccer team is playing. Let's tap into Varsity S, get a group of Varsity S former athletes to go support them. Let's tap into Teammates for Life and the alumni of the women's soccer team, and let's get people to that game to support our women's soccer team. And so we want to do that with every sport, but it started with soccer on a Thursday night up in Rutgers. And so out of that, we sent to the Connecticut chapter, the fencing team is going to be coming in December, first week in December. So we want to rally the troops for that event. And a woman emailed me, she said, my name is Erin Nalkovchik. I'll mispronounce that name pretty good. She said, I've been working at NBC Sports in Stamford, Connecticut, running NBC Sports at the studio for 9 years. I'm a Penn Stater. I would love to bring your student athletes to see the studio. I said, that is awesome. And by the way, we have 6 women students from the Bellisario school here that have been helping us brand, social media, marketing, all that. And I said, I'm bringing them with me. I'll bring any student who has an interest in seeing NBC Studio that wants to go up that. That's what we Penn Staters are all about, helping each other. Now we're just trying to hone it in and get women helping women.
How is, as a coach and an athlete, and now as an administrator or leader, how is Penn State different than a North Carolina or Stanford or Boston College, where you and Pat both were on?
Yeah.
Much better than Stanford.
So, throwing that school out there. You know what I think the difference is? I think that we're very humble. I think that sort of reputation was really, again, established by the leaders that we had here, especially starting with Joe. But I think it was very family oriented. We serve our own pocket here, in Center County. And I always felt when I was driving up from Philadelphia, you come over the mountains, all of a sudden like Oz appeared out of the mountains there. And I think, there's so much pride as Penn Staters that you just carry that wherever you go. So obviously our alumni base is so widespread around the country and the world. So I think that's what makes it very special. It's very proud of the experience that we had here. I think one of the greatest things Penn State ever gave me in my experience as a student athlete were the friendships, my friendships. I mean, they're not just my teammates. They're John Andrews, like I said, they're Rich Moy, they're Tommy Wilkinson. They were people that, I met as other athletes here that are still lifelong friends.
There's January 25th, 2024. Is that the date? What happens on that day?
That's the date that hopefully the Penn State Field Hockey Stadium will officially open. I don't know if you have a chance to go by the field, but there is this stadium that rises right up into the sky. And I had plans to do this in 2010. We had a little bit of a setback. We got back after it, and we again started with plans, started with fundraising. COVID hit, so we got set back with that. But they broke ground. I think it was like probably it was July 2022, and so full circle around. Hopefully, it'll be finished January 25th, 2024.
Largest such stadium in the world.
For field hockey, I would say maybe not stadium wise, because they do play at the Olympic Stadium in Australia.
Field hockey.
For probably collegiate field hockey.
What was the biggest challenge in getting that done beyond just the time frame?
Beyond COVID. I think the fundraising piece was challenging in a way, but people just probably couldn't imagine, why are you fundraising for a stadium? What's wrong with what you have? You've been successful, but as you go around the country, more of these schools, we're losing the recruiting war because UVA has a stadium, Michigan has a stadium, Louisville, Carolina. So I said, if we're going to keep these top players in Pennsylvania, we need to offer them, this type of atmosphere on game day. We led the Big Ten in attendance last year, and we had no stands. Everybody had to stand or bring their own chair. We were second in the country and first in the Big Ten. So I think that speaks volumes about the product that we were putting on the field, and people just wanted to come out and support the women field hockey players that were just, fighting, grinding it out every day against some of the top competition in the country, and especially within our conference.
You made the Final Four. What's that on your?
Bling, bling, bling. Bling, bling, bling. I've seen all my friends with those Rose Bowl rings and, the national championship rings. And I got to say, I've had a couple of championship rings with the Big Ten, with the Atlantic 10. And I'm like, I'm done with those dinky rings. I need to make a statement with my own ring. So I'm like, give me extra large. And here it is. Can't miss it. My players say, just don't go to sleep with it on. You might knock yourself out. But the funny thing was, we got Pat's first ring. So we won the Big Ten championship last fall. It was his first ring. So we were excited about that. Yeah.
Can you tell us a story about where you first met Pat?
Yes. So when, there's just so much speculation of who's going to be the next hire, as our athletic director, as our leader. I think we probably talked every day about it. I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that. So here, obviously, Neely made the announcement that Pat Kraft from Boston College was going to be the next athletic director. Unfortunately, I was off campus, out of town, when he came in for his press conference. So I got his contact. I think Jay gave me his contact, and I said, hey, Pat, I used to coach at Boston College. My husband and I have a home right outside of Boston. I'd love to come talk to you before you start July 1st. He's like, sure, I would love that. So I met him for coffee up in Newton, up by BC. And he was like hovering in the corner there when I walked in. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, they're not happy with me here at Boston College. I'm like, what's happening? They sent the mafia out for you or what? And he said, Char, it's Penn State. What don't they understand? I said, Pat, you're going to love Penn State. And I have a sense that Penn State's going to love you too.
You two have a certain synergy between you where you feed off of him. It's been 15, 17 months. How's he done?
This is how I think he's done. First of all, he's done outstanding. But I say he's a NASCAR driver going 600 miles per hour with no thought of pumping the brakes. That guy just goes. And he cares about every sport here. And I think that's what made us as coaches just felt so refreshed, and we could stand a little bit taller. And it doesn't just say it, he does it. He came into East Area Locker Building where our facilities were for men's and women's lacrosse, tennis, field hockey. He's like, we got to clean this up. First, how about we paint it? We're like, brilliant, So, he's just done things to make our student athletes feel better. Finals week, all of a sudden there's a cool T-shirt in every athlete's locker. It's the first year I've been here, 36 years. Last year was the first year we ever chartered as a team. This year, he is having, I think, all the teams chartered to their Big Ten competitions. I know Erica chartered out to Purdue last week. LB, they chartered to Michigan State yesterday. We're chartered back to Indiana. So it makes a big difference for time management for our student athletes and the recovery piece. He sincerely wants us to win, and he wants to put us in a position to win. And then on top of that, how great did the girls feel about, flying? I remember the first time I walked into our team room like this over in East Area, not our team, but an auditorium, getting ready to do video. And Pat had just told me that, we're going to charge you guys. So I came walking down, I looked at them, and they looked at me, and I go, flying first class up in the sky with the champagne. They're like, what? Like they were just out of their minds. Think how good that made them feel. We went out there, we won our regional, and then we charted off to the Final Four.
There's a big event last Saturday,
Mm.
retirement party with a big announcement. Were you surprised? Can you share what the
Yeah.
announcement was?
I was not only surprised, overwhelmed, emotional. As I said, I almost felt like I won the Oscar and had no, sheet of paper with me to make sure I thanked everybody. They announced that they were going to put my name on the field. It still obviously it overwhelms me, just with so much pride, and again with the athletic department here to make that type of give me that type of recognition. I just am so grateful beyond words. As Pete, we're there, and it doesn't happen often. And with 300 people there, I was so lost for words.
You started, and I noted this, you started your career at Penn State in the Flower Gardens, and now there's a field. How fast has it gone, and what has been the biggest challenge for women athletes in that time?
It has absolutely flown by. When I look at, we did start playing the Flower Gardens. I actually started where Thomas Building is. My first field, the first field I competed on was Pollock Fields. Then they moved us up to the Flower Gardens, and then that was all 2 grass fields. And then we went down to the football AstroTurf practice field. Joe let us play on that field, and then we went to where Pagula is, and now we're where our home is, and I think it's going to stay there for some time. I don't see them moving that stadium anytime soon. So it's gone by so quickly, and I've loved every second of it. And then the one thing that I reflect on as I retired is I'm so blessed that I was able to wear the uniform here at Penn State in both field hockey and lacrosse. We won championships, national championships in lacrosse. Sadly, couldn't get one done in field hockey. Was given the opportunity to come back to coach for 36 years, and now to be running this initiative. I've gone from doing something that I've loved in every year of my life to now do something that I love and I'm passionate about just as much as I was coaching. It's a new chapter, but I'm embracing it, and I just, I pinch myself. This is my life.
Women's athletics at the collegiate level, are you happy with where it's at? And if you're not, where does it still need to go? And maybe the initiative comes into play with part of it.
We're getting there. I thought we were really on a positive trajectory. I think where we're taking a little bit of step back is, with the NIL. The NIL really, they don't target the women's sports as well. They may target a few of the successful individuals in individual sports, like, well, Caitlin out at Iowa is killing it, but the LSU gymnast. But it's too bad that it can't be more team-oriented support. But I do think that Penn State does support our women's athletics programs extremely well with the conferences. Big Ten's a fabulous conference. I don't know how they're going to manage the West Coast travel. Fortunately, they don't play field hockey in the teams that are joining the Big Ten. But I think we're getting there. You remember what happened with the women's Final Four basketball situation. But we as women, we have to carry our banner ourselves as well. There's an onus on us. And that's why I feel, that I have a great opportunity to take on this platform here at Penn State. And honestly, we would like to eventually help other universities set up a similar initiative within their school.
Well, let's go all the way back to the beginning. And there are 4 or 5 key tenets. I want to make sure we cover those main principles of the initiative. You can outline those quickly, 1 through 5.
Right. So what I said earlier is we definitely want to engage, elevate our current student athletes with our alumni base. So we've identified 5 different areas. And the first one is the Teammates for Life Institute. And the Teammates for Life Institute would exist here on campus where we would be bringing speakers in and we would have career development opportunities for our female student athletes, panel discussions, everything would, the Institute would live here. You know, and we hope again that we can grow that year after year. And we have so many prominent alums to come back and you know, intermingle with our student athletes. So the Institute is one. The second one is what we call Teammates for Life, city to city. And so we want to go out to these cities where our alums have their businesses. Let us come to your Wall Street office, Colleen Conway, who now works for JP Morgan. Show it, talk to our student athletes who are interested in working on Wall Street, to Aaron, who's with NBC Sports. Also, city to city means that we want to go out and support our student athletes when they're competing, just like we did with Rutgers. So we want to take our student athletes from these different cities where our alums are, show them the experiences that they could at some point, you know, delve into after graduation. The third one is, we call it community connection. And that's just what I talked about earlier when we had the women leaders in our community on our campus that can help our student athletes. And I will give you two amazing examples of that. First one was, we wanted to engage Mike had me meet with Catherine Ted, who ran Awesome. And I met with her in the summer, and then we said, you know, we need to engage our students, whether they're athletes or not, who want a career in athletics, how they can help us develop our program. So Catherine helped, so here she's on campus. Marie helped us. Marie Harn was very. So this one, yeah. So Marie again was very helpful with that. Katie O'Toole, who's sitting right here, reached out. She was at our event, said, I know how I can help. We got on a Zoom with Mary Beth and said, how can you help? She said, I teach a podcast class. I would love to have my students do podcasts with all your female sports. Maybe we take an athlete and we take a coach, maybe an alum, and the assignment would be for 2 students within that class to, as a final exam, develop a podcast, which is going to give us great visibility as well. So that's our community connection right there. Love that. Love that. Then the fourth one is, we're looking to do a mentoring program. We have engaged Jen Farang, who I think is working with Happy Valley, the Happy Valley Collective.
Happy Valley United, right.
Yep. And then Jamie Perot, who is the hedge fund manager in New York City. Those two are going to be overseeing the mentoring program for all our sports. And Elizabeth King and Lee Beard, who are on our committee right now, they've done mentoring for women's softball and men's lacrosse. So, you know, we have the mentoring program. We have a good role model. Jeff Tambroni has done a great job with the men's lacrosse program. And so we stole a few of his ideas, and he said he stole a few of Smeal's ideas. So again, I feel like, you know, it's that sort of Penn State connection where you can, you know, tap into. And then the last piece is really the philanthropic piece. You know, we really want to have the fundraising has to be an entity, because what we want to do with the money that we raise, we want to put it right back into the initiative. We want to be able to send our student athletes to the NCAA Leadership Conference when it's at New Orleans or wherever it is. We want to send them to the Week Coach conferences. So we want to send them on internships. So we are really looking, the fundraising piece, not to build facilities, not, you know, to pay student athletes, but to funnel it back into the initiative for the experiences that these student athletes and alums will have. You know, we're really not so narrow-minded into thinking that our base is just former student athletes. We have many women that have been accomplished, and we want them to be the mentors and to help our student athletes. Even if there's, you know, a male who's interested in helping our initiative, we're all about anyone who wants to support Teammates for Life.
I think that's a real distinction. Liz King is a great example.
Yep. Yeah.
Talk a little about Liz and her role and what she did at Starbucks.
Yeah, so Elizabeth King was VP of Starbucks Seattle HR, and she been very engaged with the women's softball team. And just knowing her background, I called her, and she was one of the women that came to my house. Lee Beard did not go to Penn State. Her name is on our softball stadium, and she works with Penn State's Women's Philanthropy Committee. So we wanted her expertise. She was actually a banker. Mara Pilowitz was a former Penn State cheerleader. Her son played ice hockey here. Her other son played baseball. She works in career development for SAP. She's helping run the career development side of things. Brandy Stewart is one of Pat's assistant athletic directors. Brandy is sort of the conduit between our committee and Pat. And then we have Mary Beth Schmidt, who I spoke about, who really, after I spoke with Pat, he said, Char, this is great, go for it. I laid in bed, it's like, okay, how am I gonna do this? Okay, now I know what I wanna do, how am I gonna do it? And I sat up at 2:00 in the morning, I was like, Mary Beth Schmidt, that's who's gonna help me. And these women on my committee are so engaged. They just have a different skill set than I have. And everyone has a different area of expertise. And Tara Hohenschelt is our staff assistant, and she's done an amazing job as well. And Susan Robinson. Susan Robinson in Indy Lion Club, she's really the one that can talk to the donor base and talk to the other fundraisers within Indy Lion Club as well. You have Susan as a student athlete who, was a Naismith Award winner. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, she's very parallel to you in that.
Right.
Yeah. I think prong number 4 was mentors. You've had a variety of mentors through your career at Penn State. Can you share what different people brought to the table for you?
Yeah, I would say by far the first one was Ellen Perry. I was Jillian Rattray. My coach, she cared about us, and she cared about all the players on the team. And while I would say tactically, she was very good, but as far as caring about us as women, she fought for us, and she really, I would say, paid for us to have a little bit of an easier way to get the support for women's programs. And then, again, I mentioned about Joe, and I think he was just such a leader and a mentor. It wasn't that I had to see him go in his office, day to day. Nobody really did that. But when he would speak at our coaches' meetings, people listened. And, and he would say, hey, that was a great win you just had. I remember a bowl game, he said, yeah, that's going to buy a lot of field hockey sticks. We got a pretty good buyout from that bowl game. That's going to be a lot of field hockey sticks. And I appreciate that. Back then we would go to golf outings together. Joe didn't golf, but, we had a chance to spend time, on the plane, in a car, and just listening to, he's just so valuable. When I saw him running one day, he was walking, I was running. And the guy on the trail, and I'm like, that's Joe. And we just contracted to join the Big Ten. And I said, Joe, how is this going to help all those Penn Staters? It seems like Big Ten's far away. He said, Charlie, this is going to be great for us academically and athletically. And that's how he always thought. This is going to be great for us academically and athletically.
We're going to open up the questions shortly.
I have one other mentor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Russ Rose. Russ Rose is my guy. He, his office was right beside me when I was in rec hall, and he and I would sneak out and play some golf, and just to see his success and just watch some of his practices. That intensity is so consistent with it. In a way, his players would just, blood, sweat, and tears for him every day. And then the other one I would say was Walter Barr. Walter Barr, how blessed was I that he again was in our hallway back then. And that's what worries me a little bit when everybody gets a stadium, they want to go have their office in the stadium. I'm like, no, I don't want our offices in the stadium. I don't want our locker room in the stadium. I want our athletes to engage with the other athletes in the East Area locker building.
In my up-close view with you in meetings with trainers and nutritionists and assistant coaches, often you would go around the room and everyone would talk about that player, and you had last say. And it always impressed me that your last say was more about the person than the player. And I think that was an impressive hallmark of your coaching career. Where did that come from, and how hard was that to maintain when everyone was poking at the player and it was ultimately your job to look at them as the person?
Yeah, so little backstory, Mike Portman was our faculty advisor. And so a lot of the different programs were getting faculty advisors, and it was just brought to our attention that, ask your student athletes, who are some of their best professors on campus. And so I remember we were in a setting like this, and I said, hey, do you have any recommendations who you think is a great professor who would be an amazing faculty mentor for us? And it was like, Mike Foreman, Mike Foreman, Mike Foreman, Mike Foreman, Mike Foreman. I'm like, great, I know Mike Foreman. This is awesome. This is going to be easy. So we signed Mike up. Supposed to be a 4-year stint. I think it was like 7 years. We took him to Holland with us with the team. But he was extremely valuable to the players.
Sure, but this is about
I know it
you,
is. I know it
okay?
is. But what I want to say about you is that he did the faculty mentor so well because the girls would want to talk to him about how can I improve my resume? Who should I contact? You know people in this field. He probably had breakfast, lunch, and dinner like 5 days a week with the girls. It was always somebody meeting on for coffee. I'm gonna have breakfast with Rizzo. So the fact that you allowed our players to come to you so openly meant the world to them, and you still do mean the world to them today. So he would attend our service providers
That's
meetings.
what it is.
So what we would do, we'd get the athletic trainer, the team doctor, the sports psychologist, the assistant coaches, and sports nutritionists, and we'd have them evaluate every player. And how are they doing? Are they red? We're worried about them. Is it orange? They're okay, or is it green that they're killing it? So we go around the room, and if somebody had a lot of greens, we're like, yeah, she's a natural leader. She's always doing things the right way. But if they had the red flags, we're like, something might be going on there. Let me talk to the student athlete. Let's have her come in and see how we can help her get back on track. But to go back to how I became, Jillian cared about me. Jillian cared about me. She cared that I got an education. She cared that my family, as you heard, did not have a lot of money. She made sure that there was the funds were there for me. She supported me when I played in the Olympics, when I played at Wembley Stadium. She came to England to watch us play. And I would always say when women were coming to the recruits were coming in, I could always promise a parent that I could care for their daughter. I couldn't promise more playing time, and I certainly couldn't promise more athletes, more scholarship money. And I just always felt when you care about the players, they care about you, and it's fun. I had a mantra. I show up, I listen, I try to laugh. It was in a book written by Anna Quinlan on A Secret Guide to a Happy Life. And I walk up every day and I would remember that. And that's what my job's about. I'm a teacher, but I have to care about my student athletes. And when they lose, they're hurting. I'm hurting too. It's not fun. When their dog dies, they're hurting. I'm hurting too. So, when you develop, this goes back again to develop those relationships. And I remember talking to people about what are you going to miss about coaching? I said, I'm going to miss practice. I love practice. I love walking up the field with LB. I was blessed to have her by my side for 29 years. And then just seeing the players and caring about how was your day? How's your class with Mike Foreman going? How do you still love it? How's it going? And they do. But, and I think that's why we were successful. We have great chemistry amongst the team because it's not about superstars.
That's cool. Questions? Professor Tires. Can you tell us your name, if you're a student, what you're studying, and where you're from?
Okay, I'm from Massachusetts. My name is Hannah. I'm broadcast journalism major with a minor in sports studies. I was wondering where you see teammates for like 5 years from now.
Great.
Yeah, that is a great question. I feel that it is going to be something that everybody in the country is going to know about. They're going to know that Penn State started 5 years ago, and that now Penn State does it better than anyone else. I feel that we are going to have these meetings in different cities, social events and career development events in Chicago and New York City and Washington, D.C. As I said, we went to New York City a couple weeks ago. We had 47 women in the room out of 125. And I said, when we come back, it's going to be 50% women. We're going to come back, and 3 years later, there's going to be 75% women. So that's my goal. But I feel that we're going to see that this mentoring program is really going to help women launch these young student athletes into careers that they want to, pursue. And then I think this connection is going to be, it's going to go vertical, and then alums amongst each other are going to be, net weaving with each other. So I think we're just going to grow this community base. It's just going to grow exponentially.
Good question.
Thanks. Steve Ross from the law school.
Where are you from, Steve?
From Culver City, California, the heart of screening. Char, we briefly talked about this, but so I'd like to pose a question in light of the discussion about how you mentioned earlier the big struggle of people of our age was getting women to get what men got.
Yeah.
If we didn't live in the Republic of the United States of America, but we lived in the benign autocracy of the Emirate of Char, what would you change about collegiate sports that would apply to both men and women that you think would make intercollegiate sports or sports in society generally better than it is now, regardless of whether it's just matching up with the men?
Why you think that could take a long answer? I have a really short answer for it. And I think the Ivy League model does it right. And I've always thought the Ivy League model has done it the right way. And I felt that we as Penn Staters, when I came here as a student athlete, I felt we did it right. And the times have changed. But I feel like if you have any inkling of saving collegiate sports, it really should go back to me. It should go to an Ivy League model. Their priorities, hands down, no doubt about it, is they are going there for the education. They are staying 4 years to get a degree. And they are passionate alums just like Penn Staters are. But I think that the perspective that you go today and you look at the amount of time a student athlete spends in athletics, it's just skewed. When I was here, it was academics, athletics was here. It got here. Now athletics is like here. And that, to me, their academic schedule is here. And I just think that we're doing a great disservice to these young men and women that come to college. I worry that will they even have a college experience? What is their college experience? It's heavily athletics, and some want that because they see that, professional carrot out there. But I just think the life balance, the mental mental wellness really needs to be put back on track. And I don't know that you can do that. I don't know that you can do that with the conferences and, but if it were up to me, if it were Charville, it would be, that's how we would be doing it.
Char, this is Ron Smith, and you're my hero, and I've been here since 1968, and you are the greatest woman athlete that I've seen at Penn State. But more than that, you are a very good coach and a nice person. I do have a question about names, images, and likenesses, and why you would even question that, because everyone has an equal opportunity under names, images, and likenesses, the NIL thing, to either profit from it or not profit, like a person who is a trumpet player can go out and play jazz on the weekend and make money, or a person in journalism can write a book and sell it. And names, images, and likenesses to me is a great thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not a great thing. I think I agree that everyone deserves that opportunity. I totally agree. I think, in my opinion, I have seen, again, I feel like we're stepping back with the women's programs, that support, financial support, has not been there. When you are looking to support your university, I feel like the university, the establishment, is looking to support both men's and women's programs equally. This being an outside entity, I would like to see what the numbers are, what percentage of NIL funds do, and I'm just asking, I don't know for a fact, what are they as compared to funding, NIL funding for men as as compared to funding for women. I think there are some very good things that the NIL can do to help the local charities. I do agree with that. I think my mind gets a little sideways with knowing that, Joe did not play Curtis Enos because he got a suit jacket from from a local down in Harrisburg. And now it to me, there's money. The money is flying all around, and for not having money, and now all of a sudden there's a ton of money. What is the message? Are we trying to buy the students? They're leaving the university? What's the loyalty? The portal, the NIL, what is the loyalty? And that's where I feel like the Ivy League model is something that I cherish pretty much. Yeah.
We're gonna make yours the last question. You were the first one here.
Hi, my name is Greg Kinberg. I'm a journalism student here. My question is also about NIL. You mentioned the women are kind of falling behind the men in terms of opportunities. Do you see yourself in a couple of years partnering with local shops, local businesses to pioneer those relationships with the businesses and the student athletes to create the NIL opportunities?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I know when NIL first came on the scene, and I was with my team, and Pat had a guy from Altus come in and speak to our team. And my players sat there, and one girl raised her hand. She's like, "No one's going to want my autograph." Right? No one's going to want my autograph. So I think that's how we sort of were taken back by that. But I do think as the NIL grows and we do see the benefit, how it can benefit, the local businesses, the charities, and the student athletes themselves, maybe as a team. We have student athletes on the field hockey team. Some of them don't even get books. We still don't get books. I mean, books don't really cost that much money, but it would be great if there were an NIL collective that would say, "Hey, we're going to buy books for all the student athletes." To me, that's productive. But I don't think it's going away.
Books for all.
Books for all.
There you go. Thanks, Char. Great
Thanks.
stuff. Congratulations on
Thank you.
the field and the stadium.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that's it.